Good day, familia. This is Ray Collazo, and you're watching and listening to the Collazo Show here on Substack, YouTube, the Collazo Show podcast. Anyway, you can download the podcast on my Facebook Live family. Thank you so much for joining us. The Collazo Show is conversations and commentary analysis at the intersection, as we say in the street, the punto of leadership, politics, and cultura. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you can see, I'm a little dressed down, rocking my Criollos de Caguas jersey. We're going to have a heavy cultura conversation here talking about La Pelota, even though there is a political element to it that I do want to talk to my guest about, which has sort of been a bubbling controversy going into this. But for folks that are big baseball fans, especially Latino baseball fans, know the World Baseball Classic, I believe the 6th edition of it, is starting basically in the hours that you're going to be watching this. There may have been 1 or 2 games to start it in the Asian pool. It's basically like the World Cup for baseball. And I wanted to have, as people may or may not know, baseball and sports is a great passion of mine. And you can't talk about our cultures and our society without talking about the baseball. So wanted to bring on a brother, been following me for a couple years, does a wonderful job with baseball coverage, especially from the perspective of the Puerto Rican baseball intelligentsia world. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, sort of our angst as Puerto Rican baseball people. But brother, a great guy. Definitely follow him for his World Baseball Classic and his baseball coverage. Santos, a.k.a. the baseball aficionado. Santos, welcome to the Collazo Show, brother.
Hey, Ray, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Let's get into it. Santos, follow the baseball aficionado anywhere on social media. He's going to be covering the World Baseball Classic. We're in spring training. He's already talking that stuff. We don't have time about talking about that. Yankee and Met fans are like in this weird fuzzy area. We'll talk about that another time. But so are Philly fans, I guess. Santos, let's talk about the World Baseball Classic, brother. World Baseball Classic, again, sort of a creation of Major League Baseball 20 years ago. I think this is the 6th one. This is something that particularly Latino and Asian baseball fans always wanted, this hypothetical, what if we could get all of our folks together with our respective countries to get this down. I think there's generally been good results to it. It's kind of progressed in the sports world is something to figure out. But as we approach the World Baseball Classic, and actually the day this airs will be the first games in the Asian pool. I don't know how to feel. Are people excited? There definitely is more promotion of it. But what's your sense of the mood of baseball fans as the World Baseball Classic kicks off, Santos?
I think people are genuinely like this hype for it. There's been a lot more buzz for it, especially from the American side. I see a lot of Americans getting pumped up. A lot of obviously some of the Asians have always been pumped up. So like you mentioned, the Asians and the Latinos, we were always on it, right? We were always on it since the beginning in 06. But now you're seeing the American fan getting into it, which is nice to see, and I think it's only going to grow from here.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think part of the excitement from the American perspective is that the energy that the Latinos and really Japan bring to it, I think is motivating them, because your average sports fan just assumed, well, Americans are the best at everything. And Dominicans, but then they start looking at the Dominican rosters. Then you start looking at a Venezuela, and you really isolate what kind of talent that these different countries are producing. And I think even people like myself underestimated the kind of talent that was coming in this Japan generation that wasn't just Shohei. They've got more talent than I think they've ever had. So, I think the last World Baseball Classic, and especially that vibe we had in Miami with Japan and the Latinos, bringing all that fiebre and all that excitement. It's almost like that Miami week was like a precursor, and I think Major League Baseball saw the potential of this, that the NFL saw. Wow, if we give Latinos a little bit more play, we're going to be able to expand our audience. So, brother, I mean, how are you feeling? I mean, this is your thing. You're a baseball guy, Latino baseball guy, Puerto Rican baseball guy. I mean, I know you're a New Yorker. You deal with a lot of Dominicans. You deal with a lot of yik yak going on. I mean, how are you feeling? I know the blood's flowing for this, brother.
Yeah, the blood is flowing, definitely. I feel like my interaction with Dominicans, they feel that Dominicans arguably have their best roster on paper. I think the attitude for Puerto Ricans right now went from being devastated for not having, the three largest figureheads in Correa, Lindor, and Baez to, hey, we like being the underdog, right? And
Yes,
I
we
think
do.
the attitude for Puerto Ricans has kind of come around where I think, okay, I think we're in this because our pitching is going to be pretty good. So I think that's kind of like the attitude switch is kind of
Yeah.
happening here.
So you just referenced something. So one of the controversies that is really, I think, still bothering Latino baseball fans, and it's kind of taken for some of us, I think, a little bit of the enthusiasm from this is that, especially for like Puerto Rico, Venezuela, is that you know we feel like we're kind of getting the screw job here. So people that don't
Mm.
follow it, a lot of big names, including Jose Altuve with the Astros, Jose Ramirez with the Dominicans. A couple of the Mexican guys just got disqualified or are not going to be able to play.
Isaac
Carlos
Paredes.
Correa with Puerto Rico, were denied the opportunity to play due to insurance issues, which doesn't seem to be impacting the United States. All kind of guys with injury history are playing.
Correct.
And in fact, Bad Bunny offered to pay for some insurance policies, and Major League Baseball wouldn't let him. So, tell people about this whole controversy with players, especially Latino players, not being able to play, and how's that impacting the tournament? Do you think?
But I think anytime you have an entity in MLB, right, where you want to continue to grow the game globally, you want to have, in order for it to be taken serious, like the World Cup, if you will, of baseball, right? You got to have your biggest protagonist for every team. I know it's impossible. You're not going to have 100% attendance, right? Like, as I would say, but you want as close to it as possible. And when the odds seem to be disproportionately tilted towards other selections such as USA or Japan, where Japan's different because they have a lot of players from the Japanese league, so they're not subjected to all those rules. Most of their players are not MLB guys, so that's the distinction. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
I put that out there. But whereas
By the way, it's
USA,
amazing how the Japanese guys, they get over each and every way, right? They have the league, they make money young,
Mhm.
and then they don't have to worry about the WBC rules. And then, by the way, when they finally become free agents, unlike the Latin American countries where they get paid pennies when they're kids,
right,
they
correct,
get
correct,
paid top dollar to come.
top
So
dollar,
it's interesting how that
right
works,
away.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is funny. And another thing too, another advantage that maybe you and other people may not, or some of your audience may not know, Japan has already been practicing together for months. So how that's the cherry on the top of it. But and again, the Shohei gambling thing, I could go forever. Trust me, I don't want to because then I'm labeled something else, and I don't want it to be that discussion.
Yeah.
But it's like it's you can't ignore it. There's a double standard. There's no other way around it. I'm sorry. Like I don't want to.
Byron Buxton can get insurance, but Carlos
That guy
Correa
lives
can't.
injured.
He
Hmm.
li- I mean, the guy's a
Lives
mess.
injured.
He's called Street
Right.
Clothes. He was the original Street Clothes Byron Buxton.
Which I like him. Don't get me wrong. It's not personal against him. It's the
No,
system. I don't like the system. I
no,
got nothing. I love
absolutely.
Buxton as a player. Wonderful player.
Turns out the Puerto Ricans had the way it all shook out. The only guy that really got denied on the insurance was Correa, who actually,
Right.
would have,
Right.
Arenado a third actually is an upgrade. Let's be honest about it. You and I could talk about the elemento de Carlos Correa for an hour.
Well,
Talk about a guy,
real quick though. But before
yeah,
we change gears, I just want to make sure to know with Carlos Correa, while he could have played without insurance, I think there's more to it with him.
mm.
Lindor is devastated, and I will
Well,
say this
he
because I
says that he got
have
hurt.
sources. I
Yeah,
have sources. Right, he's hurt. He can't play.
he wouldn't
Right,
have been able
Baez
to
is
play anyway.
devastated for his own stuff. Right,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Gummies.
but
Yeah.
gummies. Right, gummies. He was in
Oh,
pain. Whatever.
Ese es
Right.
hobby. Ese es hobby. Isn't that fucking hobby?
Ahora,
Baez, isn't it?
ahora yo tengo dolores de toda clase de dolores. So, but right, but no. Honestly, here's the thing with Correa, there's more to it. Keep an eye on this. Nolan Arenado was supposed to be on the 2017 World Baseball Classic, and Correa and Kike allegedly did not want him on there. I have this on a legitimate source. You know who's the source? Nolan Arenado's dad. My friend spoke to Nolan Arenado's dad. That's
Yo
on.
lo
It's
vi
on.
esa entrevista, sí. I saw that interview,
It's
see.
there. It's
Yeah.
real. It's not. So there's a little beef there, and so it wouldn't be surprising to me if that's why Correa's not playing.
Well, the other thing is in 2023, for people who don't follow this, now we're going deep Puerto Rican World Baseball Classic stuff. I love it. Is that Carlos Correa didn't play, not because he wasn't hurt or anything, or they wouldn't let him, is because they were going to have the baby, him and his wife. And I'm like, isn't that the irony of this whole shit? So then they had during the pool, they had the baby. So then it went to the quarter.
De una vez.
Right? And then they had the quarterfinal game. And my friends were like, why don't, all right, they had the baby. Everything seems to be cool with the baby. Why don't we come for the playoffs?
You can join in the second round.
Who did they play in the quarterfinals? Mexico. Y la mujer. ¿De qué país ella? Ella mexicana.
So, no, now you're going in the weeds. Now we're real conspiracy.
I mean, I ain't lying, but anyway, Carlos Correa, what could have been with that brother? But anyway, so but it's been interesting. The insurance. So do you think that? Well, what do you think? I mean, do you think that, they definitely seem to be stocking this for a USA Japan matchup. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no other way. Come on. Like, you got to see. And another thing too, and then I know people's argument is going to say, yeah, but why are they allowing, all right, let me say it. I won't say it. Why are they allowing the Dominican team to play nearly fully intact? Do you realize how much money MLB invests in the Dominican Republic? For them to not have their best possible team out there, they're not going to do that. The MLB would rather see a successful Dominican Republic than a successful Puerto Rico, which was why Puerto Rico got taken out the draft.
And why would you say that? Well, that's an interesting point. Why would you say that?
Because and this is where the lines blur with political and other things.
Absolutely.
The American would rather see a foreigner or other country successful than Puerto Ricans. For centuries have been a thorn in the Americans' side when it comes to prosperity. Puerto Ricans can only be the cute little accessory, but they cannot be. Puerto Ricans, people forget. Let's rewind back to 1988, 1987. Puerto Ricans were the largest non-American group in the major leagues, and it wasn't even close.
I think there was like 57 of us or something. At one point, there was almost 60 Puerto Ricans in the majors. There's about 20 now from the island and 10, 15 year,
before the draft. Before the draft, right? They put us in the draft. Why would they put us in the draft, right? Very simple. They couldn't keep Puerto Ricans are not worth their investment. They don't want to continue to produce Puerto Ricans, which was why they're like, wait a second. It'll be cheaper if we send. I see these Dominicans love baseball. They're coming on. We can control that infrastructure over there. They can have corruption rampant in their academies. They can falsify ages, and they're not American, so we can't get dinged for it. They're okay. We can leave them on their own. We can have an academy for each team, 30 academies, and invest. We're going to go all in and get a huge return on our investment. And that's exactly what they did.
Talk about Puerto Rican inside stuff, deep dive. The only reason we have the remaining many of the players we still have from the island are because of the ex-major league players, especially Carlos Beltran and that crew, invested in their own schools, their own academies, their own infrastructure. So if it wasn't for us investing back on the island with baseball, which is another sort of bigger lesson at some level, we would even have less Puerto Rican players from the island.
Correct. That is correct, because remember, those academies, and people want to say, oh, well, people who don't know, who are ignorant, they say, oh, well, you guys are American citizens. You have a blue passport. Okay, that's cute when you have an American passport and you can come and go as you please, right? What family do you have? You need money. You need training. You need resources. Where are you going to move to? Where are you going to say, I'm packing. I'm going to go tomorrow and I'm going to go play baseball. Bye, Mom. Like, it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like, you got to, just because they're American citizens doesn't mean that they can, oh, we got all these academies at our disposal. No, none of those academies are run by the MLB. MLB contributes a little bit here and there, a little, whatever, partnership, little tax write-off, whatever. But they're not MLB-led institutions. They're all private. We're talking about 3 to 4 baseball academies on the island of Puerto Rico, non-MLB affiliated.
I have friends, Puerto Ricans, family that sent their son to PR to play in one of those academies. And I have another friend, she's Puerto Rican, but her husband's Dominican, who sent her son, who's a prospect, down to play in the Dominican Summer League. He was signed by a team, but he wasn't, there's like that inner step. Yep. The people that are in the academies are not ready. They haven't sent over. So it's an interesting experience. And if people want to see, talk about, it's easy for Puerto Ricans. One day we get a chance, look up the journeys and the sacrifices and the miracles that the Lindor family and the Baez family had to pull off to get their kids into those big time Florida baseball high schools to get an opportunity. And I mean,
which was
Lindor,
the only reason they got drafted in the first round. This is what I mean. Not because they're not talented. They get lost in the like they're not paying attention to Puerto Ricans.
That's right.
That's my biggest argument. This is what infuriates me.
Well, the other part of it is people don't realize we talk about the Puerto Rican Winter League, right? But in the summer, a lot of people don't know. We have what they call AA, which is like a semi-pro league in Puerto Rico.
AA,
like
correct.
70. Casi every pueblo has a team. And that baseball, if you ever get a chance to be in Puerto Rico in the summer,
it's the best.
That AA baseball quality. I have a cousin that grew up. He's part of the management team of the Pro Celeste Barranquitas. Shout out to Armando, my cousin, mi primo Armando in Barranquita. And my cousin played shortstop at University of South Florida. But it's to your point. He's like, I was so close to signing with the Cardinals, but I didn't know no English. I was from the Campo. I just went to some little high school in Puerto Rico in the Campo. So to chase my dream, I had to go to Iowa and all those JUCO programs. He goes, I didn't speak a lot of English. If he had more of an infrastructure, he could have at least made pro ball for sure. And he was a stud and a power hitting shortstop. And by the way, now he's a general manager in Barranquita. He goes, I got a lot of talent. We work out. Jorge De Leon, the pitcher, is one of his homies. They train in the offseason. So to your point, there's plenty of talent still on the island. And by the way, now, because of the politics, there's 1.5 million of us less on the island than it used to be. So now all of our talent is spread out all over the country. And that's part of the reason we've got about probably a dozen Puerto Ricans of Puerto Rican descent that live in the States, 5 or 6 of which are on the team this year, like Arenado and MJ Melendez and those guys. So it's Puerto Rican baseball is an interesting thing. Brother, let's talk about the WBC a little bit. Give us some thought. Give us a team, or just give us your thoughts about kind of the tournament and how this is structured. And how do you see what's a way for people that are just tuning into it? What's a way to how people can start thinking through how this tournament's going to go?
Yeah, so I would look at it like obviously the first round is the group stage, right? The pool stage, right? Where you have pool A, B, C, D. Pool A. Let me look at just real quick. I want to go through my since we were talking about. Let me just go through my little notes here.
Yeah, well, that's the one that's gonna be in PR. That's Pool A's Puerto Rico,
Pool A's
Cuba.
Puerto Rico. That's the Puerto Rico, Cuba, right? Canada, Colombia, Panama. That is what I call the parity pool.
Yes,
that pool is gonna be super competitive.
Yes, it is.
My official prediction was that I think Puerto Rico with their pitching is gonna be able to compete with those teams. There's no juggernaut there. I think Puerto Rico will come out along with Canada. I like Canada's team this year, and I think those are the two. Cuba's down. Cuba's down this year for sure. Cuba's down.
Cuba. We could have a whole other conversation about that. Arguably, Puerto Rico's best players also had Cuban. Nor Arenado, he's Cuban Puerto Rican, and there's because of the politics, Cuban Americans there's about 10 of them that are killers in the majors. Don't play for Cuba. And most of the Cuban, exiles, one or two usually play for Cuba. So, you're not going to see Adolis Garcia, who's a new Philly, or Randy Rosarena actually plays for Mexico, and Jordan Alvarez doesn't play for Cuba. I don't know. Luis Robert played for Cuba. I forget. Luis does,
he played last time, though.
Time. So,
this time he's not.
And then Cuba is scared to send the real top young boys because they don't want them. They don't want them to dip out in the hotel at the end. So it's Cuba, and it's not even the full Cuban squad, like Puerto Rico necessarily. It's going to be interesting with Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico, 5 or 6 of the biggest names you would know besides the ones Santos mentioned. Kiki Hernandez is hurt. We actually could have got George Springer, whose mom is Puerto Rican, on the team, but he's hurt. Jose Berrios was sort of. A lot of guys, unfortunately, come back from injuries, so we don't have some of the top names, but we still have Arenado, who you would know, Edwin Sugar Diaz. So you got 2 top-tier major league guys. What do you think about this Puerto Rico squad, bro?
I think the strength is going to be the pitching. I think the key, no doubt about it, the pitching will lead the way. The key for Puerto Rico, but to go with that strong pitching is they have to play small ball. They're going to have to play hit and run. They're going to have to manufacture runs. They don't have a lot of bop. You got Elliot Ramos, who's a guy with power with the Giants. Arenado's got power.
Not like he used to be, though. He's not the hitter he used to be. He's not the player he used to be. He's getting a little older. MJ Melendez, if we could unlock that Mercedes, you know what I mean? He's like a sports car. You need it's hard to open it if you could unlock that safe. But you're right. We don't have the big boppers.
That's going to be the key. Now there is some speed. That I'll give you an example. A lot of people don't know this guy. Brian Torres is a AAA guy, 27 years old, 28 years old. He's hit 320 and 320, 330 for 2 years in a row in AAA, AA. This guy, he's got speed, stole 25, 30 bases. That's the kind of guy you play center field, play right field, play second base.
People sleep on it. Willie Castro's an all-star.
Willie Castro.
You got some quality players. Shout out to my man Luis Vazquez is going to get a little player short with Ed Arroy's. My Máximo Orocovis, second Orocoveño ever in the majors. Represents for the Orioles.
Vazquez from Orocovis.
So got some names there. And usually it's funny because Puerto Ricans historically, we're not known necessarily for pitching, but we've always been good in the World Baseball Classic because we have the depth, which is what you need in the World Baseball. You need a lot of, they don't let the guys, they have pitch limits because it's early in the year. So you need a lot of good pitchers. And our catchers have always been the leaders of the team. So
that's the huge key, especially defensively, to lead the pitching staff. This time you have that, Martin Maldonado and Christian Vazquez to lead the more talented arms that we got.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of analysis. So that's the one pool. Then you got Pool B. You got the USA, Mexico. It's interesting because that's talk about the marketing. They always set up. It's like Mexicans and Puerto Ricans in boxing. They always set up the USA to play the Mexicans out in the Southwest.
Yes. Yep.
And one of the cool things is not only this is a really good USA roster and a likable one, but also el equipo mexicano, el baseball mexicano is on the come up, dog. Beat Puerto Rico the last time. So talk to us about that pool.
I like that pool. I think Mexico is 3-1 against the USA all time. You can't sugarcoat that. Like, that's real. Like, USA has not defeated Mexico since 2006 in a classic. Let that sink in. Okay, and they've played. Okay, so I think USA is going to be out for blood this time. Mexico's dangerous. Listen, when you have the bats that they have, I don't know about their pitching. Their pitching is it's going to be up and down. But when you got those bats, like you have the guys like Jarren Duran, you have Jonathan Aranda, Randy Arozarena, you got Alejandro Kirk.
Alejandro Kirk, I love that little guy. Yeah, no, Mexican baseball has been on the come up. What's been really cool about this whole process of World Baseball Classic is that the Major League Baseball doesn't do a great job marketing their Latinos in general.
No,
but they really do a particularly poor job of marketing the U.S. Latino guys. So Nolan Arenado is not marketed as a Latino player. Most people don't even really know what he was. It's just Nomar Garcia Parra back in the days. Nobody ever talked about him being Hispanic. We go on and on and on, right? They don't, so the fact that people are made aware that these kids are Latino, a lot of these West Coast kids are part Mexican or Mexican American, like the Verdugos and those guys. And I think because of this latest kind of Bad Bunny generation, like it's kind of cool to be Latino now, like it wasn't 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah,
it gives them more ánimo to play. You know what I mean? So the Mexican team has been a beneficiary of that. Mexican team got a lot of between Los Mexicanos and by the way, people don't realize, we talk a lot about the Caribbean, but the Mexican baseball infrastructure is good. They got a real good professional league. You know what I mean?
Tremendous.
You know what I mean? So Mexico's gonna be fun. A couple of tidbits. I love this pool because the other teams are very interesting. So Great Britain, people think Great Britain, but Great Britain, a lot of those guys are the Caribeños. So Jazz Chisholm for the Bahamas is on the team. The Virgin Island guys are on the team. So they're actually a little better than you think because they have a lot of raw talent. There's a couple of those guys in the majors. Italy actually stole our power because the top power hitter on Italy's half Puerto Rican. Jack Caglione was an Italian Puerto Rican kid from Florida. That fucking kid's a stud. La Mamado Macao, Puerto Rico. Got a coquille on his arm, but he's Paisan too. So what are you gonna do?
I knew he was gonna play as soon as I knew his last name was Caglione. That was it. Like, that's it. He's dead to me. I don't.
Yeah. Well, and if you follow him on social media,
in a baseball sense.
So yeah, he's a little out there, but most respect to his mom. She's more close. And then the other thing, and I always like the Italian teams. The Italian teams are always fun. A lot of good American kids. And then the other thing that's funny about that, Brazil has Santos. I love the Brazilian team. Look at this. They have a Bichette. They got Dante Bichette's kid. Manny Ramirez's kid. and Jose
Yeah.
Contreras' kid. So that means
How cool is that? Yeah.
a lot of Brazilian mommies making moves with these ballers, brother. Because
I'm
they
telling
all
you.
got
I'm
Brazilian
like,
moms.
yeah. Yo, you got a
Brother.
Cuban, a Dominican, and but shit, I don't know what
Italian. He's
descent.
Italian. He's
Italian
American
descent.
Italian.
Look at that. I'm telling you.
They doing their thing.
Yeah.
Don't go to
Yeah,
spring
listen.
training. Look up. You end up in Rio somewhere after
There
getting.
goes the listen, the spring trip. What is it? The Brazilian pipeline is coming.
Oh,
You
it
know?
is absolutely. It's very clear. Pool C, brother. Pool C is the Asian pool. They'll do that out in Tokyo. Big marketing thing. Obviously, it's like the Japan Open in a lot of ways. What do you think about that pool? A couple of interesting countries out there competing.
I have a prediction for this pool. So
Ooh.
here's my prediction. Now, while Japan will win the pool, obviously, Korea will reassert itself back on the international stage.
I like that.
They're gonna because Korea was upset last time from from Australia. Last year Australia got them. That's
always
not
one
gonna
of my
happen
favorite. Australian baseball is one of my pet peeves. I love Australian baseball.
Yeah, they're great, but Korea's gonna say, remember us? They got some boppers in that lineup. I can't pronounce all their names. I apologize, but they can mash. Okay. And I think that they're gonna scare Japan in one of these games, maybe even beat them, and they're gonna be one of the two teams that comes out of that pool.
Korea is underachieved in the World Baseball Classic. For people who don't follow it, also have a very good league in their country.
Yeah, KBO.
What's cool about Korea is that, and that's one of the cool things about the World Baseball Classic, is that people assume, they stereotype that, well, Koreans are like Asian, so they must play baseball like Japanese people.
No.
And they actually play a completely different, they play completely, Japanese people have this technical thing. Koreans play baseball a whole other way, brother.
Yeah. No, the Koreans like power.
Yes,
they got power. They got big guys. They got some big boys in Korea. They like to swing that bat, man.
Man Choi, swing back in the days. Yeah, no, they got some guys, and their pitchers are usually big power guys. That kid Ryu with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays back in the days. I mean, they're beefy kids. They're fun to watch.
They're beefy. Yeah, remember Sin Shu Chu?
That
left-handed hit. He was a good hitter.
He was a bad man. He could play.
Had power,
he played like a Latino, little 5'2", baby Carlos Beltran kind of guy. No, Koreans are cool.
Had pop.
I love the Australians. The Czech Republic is also cool because it's literally like guys that are like do this on the weekends, and they're incredible. They're oddly competitive. They really hang in there. So I got to give them props. I've never been a big fan of Taiwanese baseball. It's my own personal. It's annoying. I always think they're overrated. I agree. So
yeah, they don't have the. I don't know if it's the infrastructures there or the interest. They don't have the athletes that Korea and Japan have.
It's a small place, it's small, but they get hyped up because of the marketing of it. And anyway, it is what it is. Pool D, brother, it's going to be, you got kind of the real sexy matchup there in the first round, with Venezuela and DR. Talk to us about Pool D in Miami. That's going to be a lot of fun.
So that's going to be fun, man. That's the one that I wish I could go out there and see, to be honest with you. This is going to be a bloodbath, but the Dominican they're going to dominate this pool. They're gonna dominate.
Performed the last couple of these, by the way, so it's not a.
That's why I think they're gonna be out for blood. I think they're due. They just have too much talent to not be due. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have them winning the whole thing. That's not my prediction. They'll get picked off, just not in that space. In that spot.
Let's talk about the Dominican Republic here for a second. So, Fab, even though they've lost to Jose Ramirez, and I think a pitcher or two is not being allowed to play. I mean, Familia, if you love baseball, you got to watch these guys play. To watch Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Austin Wells, I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., my guy Christopher Sanchez, maybe the most underrated player in baseball. I know you're a big Christopher Sanchez guy.
Oh my God, my favorite pitcher in the majors is and I hate the Phillies. That's a Mets jersey.
No, I know. I see it, brother. I see it loud and clear, brother. I got 3 compadres that are Mets fans, and a lot of family that are big Mets fans in New York. But no, but what's always been, now it's very interesting because the issue with the Dominican baseball team in WBC is kind of like at times the U.S.A. basketball problem. We have too many stars. And so you have too many guys competing for time, and then you got to throw an old timer in because Robinson Cano's fam, so he's got to be on the bench too, and everyone wants to be invited to the party. and so the chemistry part's going to be interesting. Nelson Cruz is running the team, I believe. He's the general manager, right?
Yep.
And Pujols is running the team. So you got the pretty responsible cats. I met Nelson Cruz a couple years ago. Good guy. So you have some. I mean, the Dominicans would have a hell of a senior old timers team for the management. I mean, Big Papi's going to be on that bench, so it's going to be a lot of fiebre. So they got to come together. And to your point, the Puerto Ricans always kind of play. We always overachieve because of our chemistry. So the Dominicans have to come together as a team. It's going to be really interesting, but a whole lot of talent. Venezuela has always underperformed in this tournament. A tremendous talent pool. They don't have Altuve. They still got a lot of studs, brother. Tell us about Venezuela.
I love their lineup. I love their lineup, especially, you know what I like about the lineup? Not just that they have names, but look at the kind of guys they have. They have Arraez, who's a contact hitter. Andres Jimenez, a contact hitter and a good defender. They have Jackson Chorgo, young guy, athletic, can field. Willie Abreu, a stud
another
defensively.
Stud.
Contact.
Young boys
right?
that people don't know. A total stud.
And then you got the big boppers in Eugenio Suarez and Salvador Perez. So you have the problem with Venezuela, they're pitching, my man. Their pitching is compromised.
Yeah.
Big time.
A lot of guys did
Jose Alvarado.
Yeah. They didn't let Luzardo pitch. They didn't let Rangel Suarez pitch, my man. Yeah.
So they are danger. They are going to be in a major, major bind.
Venezuela has an odd it does hurt them in these tournaments because they always have hitting, and for whatever reason, they always kind of fall short. They never kind of hit as much, you think. But then there's a sort of odd. Venezuela has a lot of mediocre relievers in the majors. So their bullpen collectively, you have names, you have major leaguers, but they're all kind of like a bunch of 6-7 inning guys. And they sort of run out of pitching. Whereas the Puerto Ricans, we literally have 12 pitchers, but they kind of fit together. Like we just have enough, and we have a lot of good back of the end arms, and so we're able to mix and match a little better. It's sort of odd, this tournament sort of it's a tournament, so putting together a team in a short sample for baseball is a different deal, especially with the pitching, with the innings. I've seen online, brother, you and I share a passion and an appreciation for the Netherlands, and people sleep on the fact that Netherlands got a little something. This is really. Yeah, there's a couple guys from the Netherlands on the team, but this is really our Caribbean brothers. For people that vacation in places like Aruba and Curaçao and go to Bonaire, these are those people. Those are our family down there. Tell us about our squad, the Netherlands, brother. Always a fan.
Well, I love. First of all, I always love the way they play the game. They're almost like my friend, one of my friends and my mentor, Yusef Diaz, who does Pelota Cubana, real great guy. Shout out to him. He always says that they're Puerto Rico Junior, where he says they play very fundamental, they elevate their game, and they play very together, fundamental baseball. And they're going to be a pain in the ass, even though I don't know if you knew, Jurickson Profar is out.
Yes.
Because of his second PED. That's going to hurt.
That is going to hurt them, yeah. He's a big bat. They're also a fun bunch because it ends up being kind of almost like a softball kind of environment because most of their people don't follow baseball. Most of their players are shortstops and second basemen, but there's only one or two guys that can play those positions. So you have to put all kind of guys in all these weird spots. So for baseball nerds, the Netherlands are a lot of fun to watch. Xander Bogaerts, another name that people know from the Red Sox and the Padres. Good guy, and Ruben. Who's out, who ends up playing third, I guess, and they kind of mix and match guys. Ozzy Albies, who everyone thinks is Dominican, is actually from the islands as well. Total stud. So the Netherlands always get painted, but Israel's always is interesting. A lot of American guys of Jewish descent, so you're going to know some names there. What I want to talk to you about, since you're a Met fan, is, and this is deep Latino baseball stuff. The World Baseball Classic free agency of Mark Vientos has been so fun to watch because if people don't know, he's a part Dominican, Puerto Rican, and Nicaraguan descent. And he sort of flirted with everyone at this point, but he ended up, he got the short end of the stick, and he ended up with Nicaragua. Tell us about your guard, Mark. Let me tell you something. This is a big tournament, Mark Vientos' record in Nicaragua, because let me tell you, when the Mets beat us up in the 24 playoffs as a Phillies fan, I thought Mark Vientos was really coming, and I really thought he was going to be a stud, and he totally shit pooped on the bed last year, and his future is really uncertain. So this is a big year for Mark Vientos, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think he could be out of the Mets if he doesn't hit this year, right? And I honestly, if you could take emotion away from it, right? If you're a Dominican or Puerto Rican, right? I think this was the right call, right?
I agree.
Like, who doesn't love their mom, right? His mom. I saw the story, him talking about playing for his mom's country. I posted something about that too. It's a touching story. It's like, why not elevate? I think it would have been easier for him to just join PR or DR. I actually commend him for playing with Nicaragua. I think it's more admirable.
He didn't have a spot on the DR roster, brother. Look at Manny Machado. I mean, he would
Jose play with Puerto Rico. Puerto
Rico, Norton Arenado. Hey, he would have been sitting on that. He would have been a good DH. But let's call a spade a spade. If he would have had another 30 home run year, he would have been on that roster. You know that. Well, he had a bad year. That was why. Puerto Ricans are bad. We're such bandwagon jumpers. You know what I mean? We would have taken Puerto Ricans open arms. Are you kidding?
Puerto Ricans I love my people. I know my people, though. They are the biggest bandwagon fans.
100%.
Here or there, doesn't matter.
The Marcus Stroman thing. He was the enemy. Now he's our guy. And you're 100% correct about that. There's no question about it.
Puerto Ricans are the biggest bandwagon fans.
I remember this is such a morbid example. It is, and I'm sorry for bringing up this, but it's the one that comes to my mind. I remember when Selena passed, and that was so tragic, and that was totally fucked up. And I remember how much Puerto Ricans got into Selena when she died. I'm like, y'all didn't even and I'm talking about the hood in Philly or the Bronx or Bridgeport, Connecticut. You saw Puerto Rican young women with Selena shit all over there. I was like, y'all don't even listen to Tano.
Right.
Get off it. You know what I mean?
Right. I remember it. I was in school. I remember it.
We got hype as hell about her dying. It's like y'all didn't even rep her with. Anyway, it's so sad. Anyway,
can I tell you though? Can I tell you about Selena real quick though? I knew about her, and our family was into her because my family comes from the music industry, not in the sense of we used to have music stores. Like my family sold music and instruments. So we listened to De Verdad. Yeah, we'll talk about that offline.
Absolutely.
Pero yeah, my family comes from that. My grandfather used to have a music label and everything. On the other side, yeah, he used to work with people who sang the Bolero Jíbaro and all that stuff. So I'll tell you that offline, yeah, because I don't like to talk. Cool. I don't want to. Yeah, that's different. But pero my grandfather, God bless his soul, I loved him to death. I adored him. Amalio Santos. But I'm just saying that I grew up in that world, very cultured. So we knew about Selena. So it's kind of like we already knew about her before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It wasn't a bad way to jump. And of course, J-Lo ended up playing the movie, so we were. So we shout out to Kenya Martinez. Kenya Martinez is my resident Nicaragua baseball super fan who lives in the West Coast. She's actually going to go see them play in Miami, and she brings her whole family and actually was watching in 2023. And I saw her in the crowd. So I was like, is that you with the games? And she had all her Nicaraguan stuff. She goes, yeah, we're big baseball people. So much respect. We have a lot of great friends from the Nicaraguan community. You know, Nicaraguan baseball people always give Puerto Ricans a lot of love. Clemente and that whole connection.
Absolutely.
So, they're like our little primo nosotros. There's like Panama. We have these like cousin countries in Central America. The Panamas.
Yes.
The Nicaraguas, Honduras. We got a little love for them. And, we share a lot of connection. Brother, any predictions or anything else you want to share about this tournament? It's going to be the way it lays out. You could have a USA or Mexico, Japan, DR final. There's a lot of different permutations, brother, and it's going to be quite a tournament.
I'm gonna leave you with this. I'm gonna tell you this, right? Puerto Rico is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm gonna say that, right? I think USA will win the whole thing. I don't think DR is going to win. I don't think Japan is going to win. And mark my words, and this is on tape here. If Puerto Rico plays against Mexico, it will avenge their loss from last year.
Oh, it broke my heart, bro.
Mexico does not have the pitching that Puerto Rico has in a tight game, tight series, or tight playoff atmosphere. Good pitching beats good hitting. Remember that. Puerto Rico will avenge its loss from last year now, but I think USA will win the whole thing.
We were up 4-0 in the first inning, second inning. We bombed that starting. What was the starting pitcher that was with the Dodgers and they kicked him out of baseball?
It was Yadi's fault. Yadi blew it. I love Yadi, but he blew it.
Yeah, No,
He put Alexis Diaz in there after his brother
he
broke
put
tore his
Alexis, yeah,
Achilles. Like,
and
what you doing?
Alexis and Berrios were the only two guys in the whole tournament didn't pitch well at all. And it just that was a hard one. And the thing is, I was at a friend's house. And they're Puerto Rican, but they weren't as into it as I get. And there was a bunch of people there that didn't care one way or another. So it was like I was mad, but I couldn't get mad as I wanted.
Right. Because it
And
bothers you. I can relate. I'd be like,
you know what I mean?
I'd be at my suegra's house or something. I'm like,
I can't, y'all don't. Then I get mad at them. Anyway, shout out to my brother Michael Collazo from Dade Entertainment. Michael will be at a couple of games at Puerto Rico over the weekend. We'll try to get him on. If you're available, brother, we can catch up next week. Maybe give people an update.
Anytime,
Santos,
anytime,
baseball
brother.
aficionado. Let people know if y'all learn the baseball, whether you're Latino or not, but particularly Latino baseball heads, Puerto Rican baseball heads. Santos is really the guy to watch. Tell us about the baseball aficionado platform. How you gonna be? What do you do on how people going to watch you before baseball classic and during the season, major league season?
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking to put out a podcast episode every week. We're doing a live format now. That's something we've been doing lately, the last month or so, month and a half. And every day I try to give you guys the content on IG, on TikTok, YouTube, different posts about things that come up in Latino baseball world in English and bilingual format for all my Latinos out there who want to know about the game, whether it's Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans. We try to be on it. We do specialize a lot in Puerto Rican stuff because that is my largest audience. But we do also focus on big things that happen throughout MLB, not just Latino, but with a large emphasis on the Latino and bilingual community. So check us out and the Baseball Aficionado on all platforms. And also, can I plug my merch line as well?
Of course.
Definitely. BBAficionado.com. BBAficionado.com. We have a new collection out for spring and summer. Hats, tees, hoodies, sweatshirts. You get 10% off your first purchase. And it's inspired by Latino baseball culture. So,
well, brother, we'll try to see if we can get you back during the World Baseball Classic when the season starts. Want to get you on with my brother, and I got a whole crew. The Dominican baller Jorge Martinez, a lot of brothers, our man from the Black Baseball Mixtape, like to bring him into these conversations.
Oh man, Cheats! Shout out to Cheats, man.
Cheats is a great guy. And,
I love those guys. They're the best.
They do great work, and we got some Mexicanos on the West Coast. Talk about their flavor to the game. I got
shout out to the Mexicanos out there. I got nothing but love.
I was just out there and talking that baseball stuff, and there's a lot to talk about. And and the Puerto Rican baseball conversations are important because Puerto Rican baseball, for Puerto Rican baseball heads, we're an interesting group because outsiders perceive baseball as like our thing, and it is. But Puerto Rican's got so much happening. Boxing's always kind of been number one if you really know Puerto Ricans.
It really is.
It really is. And you can argue, even though Puerto Ricans have more great players in baseball, culturally, basketball is humongous for Puerto Ricans.
I agree.
And so, but Puerto Rican baseball people, we're so passionate.
It's like the heart. It's the heart, though. I look at it like it's the heart.
And we're like the I don't know. We're like the I don't know. There's something about us. We just have this thing that we're like above the clouds. Like we're we know more. We're into the culture, and we lament it. And Puerto Rican baseball fans spend so much of our time worrying about Puerto Rican baseball. How come there should be more players? What's wrong with Correa? What's wrong with the Winter League? What's wrong with
We're helpless. We're helpless romantics.
We are.
That's exactly who we.
There's no question about it.
Yeah,
Even though when I was a little kid, the third best Puerto Rican in the majors was probably Ivan De Jesus. And now we got all these, but it's not the golden era, it's not the golden generation. So we're always worried about it.
No, that was the generation I grew up in, was the golden. I saw the golden era of Alomar and Ivan and Bernie Williams all on one all-star team.
Remember when there were so many good Puerto Rican players? There was guys like Orlando Merced nobody even talked about. And it's like, you imagine Orlando Merced now.
He was a
20
stud.
home runs, 80 RBIs, first base.
Right stud.
No, it's Generación Jose Lean. Like, who cared? Oh, another Puerto Rican, Jose Lean, whatever.
Tony Valentin.
We weren't even that hype about Bobby Bonilla. Because it's like, okay, another Puerto Rican guy.
Yeah, another guy.
Imagine Bobby Bonilla now from the Bronx, hit 35. Come on. It was just like all the Mets, whatever. But it's Puerto Rican baseball. We're a vibe, our little baseball culture. It's very cool. But we'll get into it. Santos, Baseball Aficionado, continue to follow and support this brother. I told him we were going to do 20 minutes. We did double because it's what is there not to talk about? Enjoy the World Baseball Classic, brother. Enjoy time with your family this weekend, and enjoy Baseball Classic, fam, and please subscribe and support the Collazo Show. Have a great day.